So yesterday we stopped here, where we went through the 5 steps of solving a polynomial, okay, by factoring. Step 0 is that you want to make sure that it's equal to 0, right? That's where we stopped at in our notes. Remember, we were writing our notes on paper. So we make sure it was equal to 0. After that, step 1 is to make sure that it's fully factored. So we looked right here and like, okay, this isn't fully factored, but there is a GCF, and we found the GCF. The GCF was 4x. We factored out 4x. Factoring out means that I'm dividing each term by that factor, right? The factor doesn't disappear. It just moves to the outside, okay? It's kind of like your parents kick you out the house, but you're still their child, so you can come visit, okay? You didn't disappear. You're just outside the house, okay? Next, 6x squared minus x minus 5. It is not a simple trinomial. It's a complex trinomial. What makes it complex is that my a doesn't equal 1 anymore, right? It equals 6. So therefore, you have 2 options of factoring this. You can use Xbox or you can use X in grouping. Does it matter which one you use? No, it does not, because they're going to result in the same factors. And those factors came down to be 4x times x minus 1 times 6x plus 5. Yes? Okay, so that step 1 is now completed. We have fully factored. Step 2 is to take each factor and set it equal to 0. So each factor with the variable, we take it and set it equal to 0. So we had 4x equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0, and 6x plus 5 equals 0. Yes? Okay, after we did that, we then found our solutions. So our solutions are x equals 0, x equals 1, and x equals negative 5, 6. Okay? Now, the reason why this has 3 x's is because the degree of my polynomial is 3. So whatever the degree of your polynomial is, that tells you the maximum number of x's, possible x's you can have. Okay, so in part 1, our degree was 2, right? We were working with quadratics. So the max number of x's we could have was 2. This is a cubic. It's a degree of 3. So the max is 3, which is why we had 3. On the previous one, we only had 2 because one of my factors doubled, right? So it was a repeated factor, which is why you only had 2 instead of 3. All right. Okay. Here's where you are. You're going to go through the 5 steps. So make sure it's equal to 0. Make sure it's fully factored. Set the factors equal to 0. Solve the factors. Okay. Solve for x. As I am up and moving around, please ask me for help if you need it. But we're going to try those steps. Let's walk through it. So step 0 is satisfied, right? It equals 0. So step 0 is good. Yes? Step 1, is it fully factored? No, x minus 4 is good, but what's the problem with the other one? It can break down a little bit more, right? This is what we call a simple trinomial. Why is it simple? Because a equals 1. So you actually are just asking yourself what multiplies to give me 2, but adds to give me negative 3. What multiplies to give me 2, but adds to give me negative 3? A negative 1 and a negative 2. Do we see that? So I have x minus 1 and x minus 2. You can totally do it in the box, and it's still going to give you the same thing. So if you did it in the box, you had your x squared, your positive 1, your negative x, and your negative 2x. Nope, that's not right. Yeah, I wrote that right. Okay, so then here you had x, and you had a negative 1. Here you had x, and you had a negative 2. So either way, whether you do it mentally or you use the box, it's going to do the same, right? Step 2 is you're separating the factors and setting each one of them equal to 0. Step 3 is to solve. What am I doing to solve? Adding, because the opposite of subtracting is to add. So we get x equals positive 4, x equals positive 1, and x equals positive 2. Okay, step 4 is if I'm not sure, what should I do? check. I can take the values, plug them back into the original, and make sure that it adds out to be 0. Okay?
Okay, when you would plug it in, you plug in all of them?
You're plugging one at a time. So I would plug 4 in first. So I would have 4 minus 4 times 4 squared minus 3 times 4 plus 2. And that would equal 0, because 4 minus 4 is 0, and 0 times anything is 0. Okay, and then you would plug in 1 for x, 2 for x, and repeat the same thing. Okay, you only can plug in one value of x at a time. All right. Yes.